White shirts on the pitch, running fast through the night. Every heart beating loud under floodlit sky bright. Southern London stands strong, in the stands they belong. Voices echo like thunder, to the club they sing along. Up in Spurs we arise, eyes on the prize. Victory in sight with all might. King's fire in his eyes, glory's what he seeks. With every goal he flies, rising to new peaks. From the lake to far and wide, with the pride of the fight. On this journey we'll ride, with our passion burning bright. Up in Spurs we arise, eyes on the prize. Victory in sight with all our might. From the lane to far and wide, with the pride of the fight. On this journey we'll ride, with our passion burning bright. Up in Spurs we arise, eyes on the prize. Victory in sight with all our might. With all our might. With all our might.
Hi and good evening and welcome to HFC till I die your home. Tottenham past, present and exciting future under Ange Postecoglou. And yes, I am on my own. Stig Jr. was supposed to join me, but he's got a bit of the flu. So he says I decided to give him the night off because he is joining me tomorrow for the Cockerel Clock podcast. And why I'm doing tonight's show, there used to be a club over there. It got me thinking about the way Daniel Levy has run the club and the way there is a Levy out movement. But is Daniel Levy, the question that came into my head was, is Daniel Levy really the worst chairman we've ever had? Now, there's fans that are supporting Tottenham only when Levy took charge, that have only known Daniel Levy. But there's fans like myself and other fans that watch this channel. We can remember back to the Ivan Scholar years, and probably there's fans that can remember before that. So what I did was, I sort of looked back through the last three owners of the club, Ivan Scholar, Alan Sugar, and Daniel Levy. And what I did was, I looked at the managers they won, the managers I had, trophies they won under their ownership, and any sort of major news that went along with each ownership. And the more I looked into it, and the more I did my research, and the more what I can remember, Daniel Levy, yes, has his faults, but I think it is coming from the right place. Now, maybe he's not getting it right completely, and there is times he could have backed managers and bought more players, and there was times we didn't buy any players at all. And I agree with that. I agree that he could have done more. But is he really the worst owner we've really had during our lifetime, during the history of the club? Should we start? Do we have to keep looking back to yesteryear for our glory years? Do you use that as a yardstick? I think you have to, because I think any club to move forward, you've got to look at the history, and we have a rich history. But as I said in the description, there really has been a lot of ups and downs during the last three owners of Tottenham. We are now on our longest drought without a trophy in our history. We've done that before, but there was two world wars in the middle of that, the First World War and the Second World War. So you really don't take that into account. So it really got me thinking. And also with the takeover news as well, the talks apparently between Amanda Staveley and the Saudi Arabian group and the talks apparently that are going on with Daniel Levy, looking for either a 25% stake or looking to follow the Manchester United route, taking over the football side and let Daniel Levy run the business side. Football has changed over the years. Football's now not just football. And why I put in the title, there used to be a football club over there. I do genuinely believe that. I feel that in my heart and soul that there used to be a football club over there. Because we use the stadium so much for other entertainment, for boxing, for NFL, for concerts. We've got the Skywalk, we've got the NFL, we've got the Formula One go-kart track under the South Stand. And where years gone by, they wouldn't have that back when I was a young lad watching football. Football was football. Football club was run as a football club. That they earned their revenue from the gate, the fans coming in, paying their tickets on the gates, the fans paying their season tickets, buying merchandise. And that's how they earned their money. And since the Premier League era started and how big the Premier League has got and how more powerful the Premier League's got and how more corrupt the Premier League has got, other clubs have to look for other ways to make other, revenues to either strengthen this team or build a new stadium or buy players. It can't just be alone from the fans alone buying the match tickets or the merchandise or the season tickets. And yes, we all know Tottenham make 6 million, I think, every home match day. Now, you do that over a whole season, that's a hell of a lot of money. But football was different. Football was different back in the day, back of the time of the Ivan Scholar years to now. And people seem to forget, Ivan Scholar, when he took over Tottenham, over in 1982, we were the first club to go on the stock exchange. No other club had done that. And I think Man United, followed us shortly afterwards. Look, it's going to be sort of a walk down memory lane, but there is a sort of a reason to the question, and the question does still go to you guys. Is Daniel Levy the worst owner we've ever had? And I think you've got to look at the context of every owner that we've had for the last 3, at least. Because the owners before Ivan Scholar had owned the club since the 1940s. So you can't really use them as a yardstick. I think you've got to start with the Ivan Scholar years, to go to the Alan Sugar years, to go to the Levy years. And I know there's going to be people, and I have to come into this. I had to do this show. As I said, I was going to do it with Stig Jr., but he's not well, and I'll get well soon. And also, Senior Stig's not well as well. If you are watching, I hope you feel better, sir. And we look forward to your return. We miss you. And, I need you back because, you keep me from going completely delusional. And also, Column's back tomorrow on the podcast, which we've got a belter of a podcast tomorrow night. I'm really looking forward to it. But I want to know from you guys, where do you stand on this? Because we as fans demand a lot. We demand success. We demand that we should be in for winning everything. Where no club has a divine right to win anything, we should be there and thereabouts. We are a big club. Not a lot of fans. Not a lot of fans believe that we're a big club, but we are a big club. We're one of the top 6 clubs. We were one of the top 6 clubs to start the Premier League back in 1991. And Ivan Scholar was a part of that. But I can remember a time where we nearly went extinct, out of business. And football has changed over the years. Football has now become a multi-billion-pound business. So we're going to go through that. I've got a little bit of news on the takeover as well. Well, semi-takeover, what's happening there. I've got a little bit of news on that. And also Wilson Odegaard as well. A little bit of news on him as well. And also tomorrow, guys, there's loads of pre-records coming up for you members. So do pick up your memberships if you can. There's the predicted 11, the pre-game thoughts as well, guys, is out tomorrow. And also tomorrow night's the podcast. Saturday, Tottenham Team Talks. It's a members only show. We're going to try it out as a members only show. So if you want to watch Tottenham Team Talks, do so. Pick up your memberships if you can. Also, guys, if you can, the description is in. Just let me sort out this. Sorry, I look a bit depixeled. Now, if I hear anything more about pixels, I think I'll scream. Right, it ain't going to work. Okay, you're just going to have fancy me being half pixeled. If I can get it right. Hang on, just give me 2 seconds, please. Work. No, it's not that one. Is it that one? No. Hang on, we will get it right. There we go. There we go. I'm not high pixeled anymore. And I think there's loads of pros. So we've got a lot to go through. So let's welcome a few people into chat and then we will get into it. Big up to Jared O'Connor. The fans don't care about NFL or any other revenue. They want tin pots. Yeah, and it is. We want success. Of course we do. I do. Everyone does. No club. But if you're facing clubs that are being revenued by nations, it's very hard to keep up with them teams, and you've got to find some revenue somewhere else. And I think football is going to go down this route. And I do feel Daniel Levy, with all these faults, is a bit of visionary, and other clubs in time will be going down this route. I think in 10 years' time, every club in the Premier League will be using their stadium for something else bar football. And I do feel that it is going to come down to that, because it's going to be another way of getting revenue in to buy players and to grow your club and to grow your team and get better players in. You can't do that. You need to get your revenue in. Levy bagging millions from those revenues, yet still jacking up ticket price. Look, I agree. He's made plenty of mistakes. I agree with you. I can't disagree with that. And the one for the senior thing should be scrapped altogether. They deserve better. And I think there's a protest on Saturday about it, and I'm fully behind that. We need to look after our senior season ticket holders, and that is the right. But what we'll say is, where's the supporters trust? They never come out for anything. You never see them doing anything. They're very. I've got a lot saying the support trust. It's not a show for it, but I do, because I feel the supporters trust are a waste of bloody time. And anything's down to our channel, our Tottenham channels like mine or Dave Harris's and other channels that we have to keep the message going. We have to keep what's happening out there. So I agree with you. Ticket price. Do it. He's made a lot of rod for his own back. So I do agree with you on that. Big up to Stick Junior. Big up to sending my thoughts to Senior Stick. Hope he gets better soon, mate. Yeah. All from all of us here. Senior Stick, we hope you get your back. But Boris, some say, right, you were part of the 1901 FA Cup final team, and some say you were part of Lasagna Gate, but, you know, we never know. Just what we've heard. And Jared says, Alan Sugar's got to be praised. He saved the club. He brought in superstars as Levy ever made world-class signing. The longer we go without Tim Potts, no big star will ever join us at the lane. Look, I'm going to get over the Alan Sugar thing. Look, you just cannot say, yeah, he saved the club, but you can't forget Terry Venables as well helped in that. And I think Alan Sugar, for his faults, I think we just can't have him. So he saved the club. Yeah, he did no wrong. He did plenty wrong. He did absolutely plenty wrong. He wasn't a perfect chairman either, by the way. And if you look at the list of managers that he picked, I mean, look, it's okay. It's okay looking back and thinking, yeah, he saved us. But he didn't really progress us. He didn't take us to the next level. And from all of Levy's faults, he has progressed us into a fantastic stadium, fantastic facilities, world class. That we're branding, where branding is everything now in football, and we do have a good brand. We have a great brand. But you have to match that with success on the pitch. And that is where we failed. And that's his biggest failure, success on the pitch. So where I feel that him and Alan Sugar have won one League Cup each. Okay, Sugar in 10 years he won one League Cup. In 22 years, Levy's won one League Cup. Not a lot of success, rarely, between the pair of them. But I do feel Alan Sugar made a lot of mistakes as well. Football was different back then when Alan Sugar was in charge. He was the one when the Football League were trying to keep football on free to air. Alan Sugar's the one that rung up Sky, said, right, blow them out, tell Sky to blow the football, ITV and BBC out of the water. Because he made millions out of that because he was making the satellite dishes for Sky. So look, I agree with you, he's got to be praised, he saved the club. He made an awful lot of mistakes himself. And then Boris said, maybe I was one on the Garden of Eden and made Adam and Eve take the fall for that apple. Well, who knows? Maybe you were. Maybe you were. We don't know. We do not know. More of that tomorrow. Anyway, well, let's start with a little bit of breaking news. I got given this about 20 minutes ago from my source. And some of it's out in the public domain. Some of it isn't. So this is the latest I've got on the STEMI takeover, what is happening now. I know a lot more than what I can say. And some of the talks I've been having with my source has been quite hilariously funny. But there is a lot more to this. And once I get the green light, I can tell you a hell of a lot more, which is very frustrating for me. It's frustrating for my source. And also it's frustrating for you because I want to give you guys all the latest news I can give you. But I can't because I've signed an NDA to this as well. So I would get myself into a hell of a lot of trouble if I could tell you what I know fully. So I don't want to get that and I get the person into trouble, and it's just too much of a minefield. So the latest we have in this, it is believed that Amanda Staveley and her husband have been laying the groundwork for a significant stake in another Premier League giant, which is Tottenham. Sources say discussions have been held about the pair heading a new Middle Eastern consortium that will plough huge funds into Spurs. Forbes state that Spurs are currently valued around 2.42 billion. So if Staveley wishes to purchase a 25% stake in the club, it will cost approximately 605 million. It says Staveley has reportedly already raised 500 million through her investment fund, PCP Capital Partners, and she gets closer to our overall goal. Now, what I'm hearing is that I can't say more. I know more, and I can't say more. It's really frustrating. But for what she did at Newcastle, she slightly worries me. And this was the idea of tonight's show. Tonight's show sparked from something Simon Jordan said with his morning show with and Talk Sport. And this is where this all sparked from, this show tonight. And you look what she did at Newcastle. They all went in expecting them buy big players and do everything, and they didn't. She had to borrow money of Mike Ashley, I think, to continue that takeover of Newcastle United. She did good at Newcastle, but were they restricted because Newcastle were restricted by FFP? Or did she think it was a stepping stone to get a full hold within the Premier League to go to a bigger club? Now, don't get me wrong. I think, don't get me wrong, Newcastle are a big club as well in their own right. I've been up to St. James's Park many a time, had many of a weekend up at Newcastle, really enjoyed it. They're probably the best people up north. They really are the most friendliest, the most welcomest people up there. The northern people are anyway. People from Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, all lovely people like us Irish. A lot of Irish went to them sort of areas when people left Ireland to go to England. They reside in the north or they went to London. So look, I wouldn't be happy with Saudi money coming in. I think the fans have got to the point now. would we love anyone else bar Levy? And this is where the question broke. Is Levy the worst chairman we've ever had? And looking back, I think he's in the top 3, but I don't think he's been the worst. And this is where it stands to you guys. You probably disagree with me. And this is what I love about this channel and love about football. Everyone has their own opinions. Everyone has different opinions. And there's only people that have only seen Daniel Levy in charge. Where I've seen other owners. So I've got the experience of Ivan Scholar. I've got slightly experience of the owners before Ivan Scholar. And then I've got the Sugar years, and then when I've got Levy years. So I'm under my 4th ownership of the club, where there's people like Boris and probably a lot of people in the chat, younger fans, have only known Daniel Levy. So I want to educate you guys to show you how much Tottenham have changed, football has changed, and owning a football club has changed. Because that's changed dramatically over the last 20, 30 years. So, you know, and this is what tonight's all about. So, look, any more news than that, guys, as soon as I get it and I get the okay from a source, I will tell you straight away. And this is a little bit of good news. And I'm really pleased for Wilson Odegaard, because I think he's a great little player. I think he's going to be a superstar. I really do. I think him and Brennan Johnson are going to be the future wingers for us. And I'm so pleased for Brennan Johnson as well. 7 goals in 7 games now in total. 1 for Wales, 6 and 6 for Tottenham. He's equaled Harry Kane's record of that as well. So absolutely delighted. Well, Wilson Odegaard is in the finalists for the Golden Ball Award this year. He's in the last 25. And what a great thing for him. What a boost that must be for him. It really must be a boost for him. And absolutely over the moon from a little, he is a talent. He is a talent. I love the way he plays. I love the way he attacks his person. And that's what we want our wingers to do. So, yeah. So good luck to you, Wilson Odegaard. We hope you will get far in that. Let's go into chat a bit more, and then we will get on with the show. We've got Boris here. Yeah, we've got this one. Then Sugar got the ball moving. He started up the Prem and all. Yeah, he got a lot of money for that as well, Gerald. You know that as well as I do. He wasn't doing that for the love of Tottenham. He was doing that so he can get money. He knew he was going to get money for his Amstrad as well. He bloody well knew that. Big up Stephen Thomas. She's done a good job at Newcastle United, a divided club, sounds like. Yeah, she did. She did. I think Newcastle just wanted anyone bar Mark Ashley, to be fair. I think you could have put Yogi Bear and Bobo in there, Boo Boo in there, and I think they would have been delighted with Yogi Bear as chairman, to be fair. So I think Newcastle wanted anyone bar Mike Ashley, and I think this is where we're getting the Spurs. We would love anyone else bar Daniel Levy and Enoch. So, you know, it's a funny time, and football is just not football anymore. And I'm beginning to, as I'm getting older, I'm not seeing the game as I used to see it. I'm not seeing the game that I grew up watching, and it's not football anymore in a way. Big up to GJ Sammy, a member as well. If you're being like DJ, do pick up your memberships, guys, if you can. It really does help the channel grow. We've got a lot of membership stuff coming out as well. And also do hit the description of our channel sponsor and the sponsor of this show, Private Internet Access. You get 2 years for €43 for VPN. You can watch all Tottenham stuff for 2 years. And you also get an extra 4 months free on top of that as well. It really is the cheapest deal around. It's the best deal around. It's cheaper than any other VPN provider, and it's secure, and it will look after you. They've got over 30 million providers as well, guys. So do please do that, and also do pick up your membership, send in super chats and super stickers as well. I know it's a tough word out there. I know inflation is high. I know Christmas is coming up as well, and everyone's trying to save their pennies, and it's winter's coming in. So, but every little does help, and it helps us grow. It helps us move on to the next level, and it helps us get better equipment for you guys, and that means better graphics for you guys. That means I can bring you better content for you guys as well, which is all about. We're not sponsored by massive people. We haven't got Sky behind us. A lot of this do this off our own back. We spend a lot of hours putting shows together, and we do have to spend a lot of our own money on equipment and graphics, and it does cost a lot. So every little, guys, even the memberships, even if you pick up a 99-cent membership, it helps us grow, and it gives us the influence to give you more, guys. And that's what we want to do. We want to go, and please hit the subscription button. I want to get to 2K before the end of the season. It's a dream of mine to get to 2K. I want to grow. I want to get to 15K. That is my all-time dream. To get this channel to 15K is my dream, but get to 2K first is my immediate goal. And I would love that to happen. So big up, DJ. And I hope you're doing all right, sir. I know you had a rough patch there, but I hope you're doing better. And listen, we'll get you on as well on a podcast. And I love your picture of the Joker there. I think that's the Joker, if I'm not mistaken, from, I think, one of the Batman games, which is, I do love it. I do love playing a bit of Batman on Sky, on the Xbox and the PlayStation. Boris says, well, even if they do that, it's not like the rest of the consortium will be leaving as well. So it doesn't matter if she does what she did at Newcastle, since she is waiting for a club like us to happen. Yeah, exactly. Big up to John Fitzpatrick. Big up Dermot, my Irish brother. Big up, John. I hope you and the family are doing well down in Limerick, and keep them well, sir, and keep them warm as well. I hope you get to a game. Let us know if you're going to a game this year. I think I'm going to the Palace game next season. Next year, but let us know, and I'll probably meet there and we'll have a drink as well. But good to see you, John. Boris says, seems the story about Gaza being not allowed free tickets for herself seems to be false news. And it wasn't true. It turns out the ones he had to pay 400 quid for was a group of associates of his, not for himself. This was confirmed. Yeah, it was, and I felt it was a little bit unfair. I think they spun the story a little bit, but look, the truth always comes out in the end. Right, well, let's start, guys. Look, and I think you have to start at the beginning, right, to sort of get to where we are now with Daniel Levy. And I said there's only been I've lived under 4 different owners. And these owners now, Philip Brady, the Godfather himself, would know more about this than me. So this, for me, is a little bit, I'm going by memory and what I've learned, right? So from 1943 to 1961, it was owned by 2 families, the Behrmans and the Richardsons and the Wales. So it was owned by 3 families, Tottenham. And each took a turn in managing and owning Tottenham Hotspur, being the chairman. So Frederick Behrman from 43 to 61, Fred Whale from 61 to 69. And then Sidney Whale, his son, took over between 89 and 1980. And then Arthur Richardson from June 80 to December 82. Of course, they're the managers. Of course, everyone from Peter McWilliam, Arthur Turner, John Hume, Jimmy Anderson was caretaker, Arthur Rowe, the manager for the push and run side for the 50-51 side, also won the second division championship in 1949-50. So we won back-to-back championships then. Of course, the legend that is the man that should have been knighted, Sir Bill Nicholson. It beggars belief that man was never given a knighthood, where the likes of Matt Busby got one. Bill Nicholson, for me, was part, and this is why tomorrow he's going to be in my top 5 of managers. He was around a time where you had Sir Matt Busby, Bill Nicholson, Bill Shankly, and all them great managers all battling for honours, and he was successful in that. Of course, manager from 58 to 74. Terry Neal, the former Arsenal player and former Arsenal manager, 74 to 76. Of course, Keith Birkinshaw came in from 76 to 84. Played under 2 different owners. Started under Arthur Richardson and resigned, left the club in 84 under Scholar when he was left disillusioned. And this is where this quote came from. There used to be a football club over there. Now, I want to make this clear. Keith Birkinshaw never said that. It came from the reporter, but it was taken out of an interview he did before he left the club. So these are the amount of trophies that they won under this ownership. We won 2 league championships. We won 4 FA Cups, 2 League Cups, a Cup Winners' Cup, and a UEFA Cup. Now, we won in 61, 62, 67, 81. 82, Ivan Scholar was the chairman. So he won that FA Cup as an owner. So I think our most successful time was on the Bearmans, Wales and Richardson. They were our most successful times on the club. They were the glory years. But what happened was, Arthur Richards built I think it was the West Stand, and it ran into problems. And then there was a bit of a falling out between the three families. And Ivan Scholar and his associates thought, right, we can get in here. Bought up all the shares and then took over the club for himself from 1982. And then, of course, went on to the stock exchange. Now, Mr. Ivan A. Scholar took over the club become chairman in 1984 July, after being on the board. So under his ownership, he did own the club. He won a League Cup, an FA Cup, and UEFA Cup. He only had 4 managers: Keith Birkinshaw, Pete Shreves, David Pleat. Of course, the Pleat in 86-87 side got to an FA Cup final, League Cup semi-final, and third in league, so we couldn't have done the treble that year. But the problem with David Pleat was he kept breaking round corners, in dodgy areas, and kept calling the RSC and AA. But we'll look over that. Trevor Hartley came in as caretaker. Doug Livermore came in as caretaker as well. And then, of course, Terry Venables came in and won the FA Cup. Late 80s, early 90s is where it got a bit itchy. And this is what sort of thing. Now, by the end of I'm sorry if you can read this, hope you can, but this is sort of, in a nutshell, what had happened. Basically, by the end of the 1980s and the beginning of the 90s, Spurs had become mired in considerable financial difficulties, with a debt reported to be £20 million in 1991, which was owed to the Midland Bank, by the way, who were threatening to close us down. The East Stand was refurbished in 1989, but its costs had doubled from over £8 million. While the company attempts to diversify into other businesses, such as clothing firms, there is a I will find it and I will put it in the link. There is 2 YouTube shows about this, documentaries about this as well. In the firm, Hummels and Matrix failed to generate the income expected, in fact, losing their money. July 89 saw the arrival at White Hart Lane of England striker Gary Lineker from Barcelona for a fee of 1.2 million. However, the cash-strapped club was unable to pay Barcelona in full, even though Waddle, and this is the bit that gets me, Chris Waddle was sold, all right, so days later, might say, for 4.25 million. But Scholar had to organise a secret 1.1 million loan from Robert Maxwell to pay for the Gary Lineker and Naeem deal, because then Tottenham would have had to give him back Gary Lineker and Naeem to Barcelona, which caused an uproar and resulted in an attempt to oust Scholar from the boardroom. When it was revealed, there was it really was major news back in the day. Robert Maxwell, who I think owned the Daily Mirror. No, was it the Daily Mirror or the Sun? I can't remember. He owned one of the major newspapers back in the day, a very crooked individual. And of course, Maxwell is well surrounded in other scandals as well, which we won't get into, who first owned Oxford United and then Derby County, became interested in the club, putting Derby up for sale so that he could acquire Tottenham. Venables, who had previously attempted to buy the club in 1991, but failed, but joined forces with businessman Alan Sugar in June 91 to force a takeover by Maxwell and gain control of Tottenham Hotspur plc, buying out Scholar for £2 million. But that then led to other problems down the road, because we had so many skeletons in Tottenham's cupboard, and the way he ran the club, Scholar, was we nearly went out of business. We were days away from going out of existence. There wouldn't be a Tottenham Hotspur if it wasn't for Terry Venables and Alan Sugar. And why Gerard is right to say they deserve praise. Terry Venables deserves a hell of a lot of praise as well. And we all know Terry Venables, all the sort of accusations that were put around him at the time. He won us an FA Cup. He played for us. He knew what Tottenham was about. He knew what it meant to us fans. He was one of us. And I think this is when Alan Sugar sacked him. I think there was such an outpouring of of love for Terry Venables that we wanted him back at the club. We wanted Alan Sugar out. And I think that was the start for me of Alan Sugar, for me not liking that Alan Sugar the day he sacked Terry Venables. And I think that turned it for me as a young fan. And look, going through them early years, late 80s, early 90s, and putting on the news, the next guy in news thinking, would I wake up in the morning to find Tottenham Hotspur have now gone into liquidation, or Tottenham Hotspur are now no longer standing, was very tough as a fan. And any fan that's been with the club that have gone to the wall, or gone out of existence, do you know, I feel for you, because it's a horrible feeling. And I'm so glad the fans of today that have voted, that weren't around then, didn't have to go through what I went through, what probably John Fitzpatrick had to go through, and people in the chat that can remember them days. I mean, I was a young fan. I was really upset that the team I supported from a little kid was about to go out of business. Midland Bank were about to pull the plug. And this is where the sale of Paul Gascoigne was before he tackled Gary Charles, I think, in the FA Cup final in 91. That money was the lifeblood to keep Tottenham going. Once he injured his knee, that turned it on its head. We had to do something. And it was a case of race against time, that we had to, Terry Venables had to put something together to save the club, because the club were going out of business. And we had the problem with the West Stand. The West Stand was built over budget as well. So we were £4 million in debt with that. The East Stand was well over budget. We got actually done by the FA. We were supposed to play, I think it was Coventry and Notts County at home in the first game of that season. And the safety people wouldn't give Tottenham the safety certificate, say the stand was safe. And we had to postpone the game within 6 hours of kickoff, which got us, I think, a final deducted points. I can't remember rightly. And our first game of that season was away at Newcastle. That's where Gazza made his debut for Tottenham. So, in a way, Tottenham were being run really badly, really crookedly. We were trying to diverse into other avenues, which wasn't working. Other companies that Tottenham were trying to hummel, that went bust. There was a company in the Northwest that Tottenham took over, tried to make money, went bust, went into liquidation. We were £20 million in debt with Midland Bank, which I think then turned into HSBC. So, do you know, we're at a time where we're struggling. We're going out of existence. We've won an FA Cup. The record, we won the more FA Cups, and this is the bit that galls me. At that time, we won more FA Cups than any other team in the Premier League or the first division. At that time, it was our 8th FA Cup win, and we won 7 and lost 1, which we had an amazing record in cup finals. And we were going to the wall. We were going out of existence. And for me as a young fan, and where I understand today's fans, their hostility towards Daniel Levy, their hostility towards the way he runs the club, the hostility towards how he doesn't back managers and sacks managers, I get it. I understand it. I'm frustrated too. Sacking Mourinho 5 days before cup final, not backing Pochettino when we had to back Pochettino to probably go on to bigger things. And I feel that I understand it and I get it. And I get frustrated as well. More frustrated than you realize. But I have to be balanced in my sort of argument and in my thoughts of Daniel Levy, where a while ago I was really staunch Levy out. And I actually sat down one night and I actually watched a documentary about this time. And it got me thinking, am I being too hard on him? Am I not being objective enough of being a fan where I'm a YouTuber as well? I have to take me being a football fan out of being a YouTuber. And yes, I'm passionate about the club, and it's games day and watch longs. I'm as passionate as anyone. And I hate losing. I hate his losing. And look, I'm delusional. I'm more delusional than anyone. And I have fun with it. And, you know, the nickname Dermtron, it's all good fun. I love it. And I love doing what I do. But I have to look at it more as a reporter, as a sports presenter, that I have to be a bit balanced in my arguments. I have to look at the flip side. And if that means I have to go into the dark side of the moon, the dark side, and look at the probably good points of Daniel Levy and look at the other side, I have to be balanced in my arguments, because there's no point me coming on here tonight and just bashing Daniel Levy, where I know in our history we've had worse owners, and this man here nearly cost us the club we love. And he gets away with it because, don't worry, guys, that was 35, 40 years ago. Doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me because I'm only supporting Tottenham through Levy. History doesn't matter. History damn well matters. It matters more than anything. You can't build your success on future alone. You have to build it from the history. Your history is your foundation of your football club. And we went through hell back in them days. Hell wasn't the word for it. Do you know, I was a young teenager going to bed every night. Am I going to have a football club to support in the morning? Am I going to wake up and see Tottenham Hotspur Football Club no longer exists? Who am I going to support? No one. I'll probably fall out of love for football. I'll probably support Celtic because I'm a massive Celtic. Being Irish, you support Celtic anyway. And being in my household, it was either Celtic or Rangers. And I'm sorry, I couldn't bring myself to support Rangers. Never can, never will, never do, never can, never will. Celtic all the way for me. Follow my dad on that. May he rest in peace. But you cannot forget what we went through to get where we are now today. And you have to use that as a broomstick to where we came from. And it's like building a house. You have to build a house on solid foundations. And Tottenham Hotspur back in the 80s were not on solid foundations. This man there on that screen was a fucking crook. He was a crook. He was a bad businessman, and he nearly brought the club I love out of existence to its knees. He brought the club was on its knees. And it doesn't matter what you're seeing now. What we're seeing now is a drop in the ocean compared to what we went through back in them days. And yes, we were successful. Yes, we won in the 80s. We won three in the 80s. We won 2 FA Cups and a UEFA Cup. Got to a League Cup final. Got Winners' Cup semi-final. Had a great manager, great players. We had near enough a great team under Terry Venables, either for 1 or 2 players. But we didn't have the money to back the manager then. If we had the money to back Terry Venables, I think Terry Venables would have won us the league with Tottenham. David Pleat, again, very nearly was successful in 86, 87. Could you imagine a team of Glenn Hoddle, Chris Waddle, Paul Gascoigne, and Gary Lineker in the same team? That would be like having Danny Blanchflower, Dave Mackay, Jimmy Greaves, and John White in the 60s. That's what that would have been. We would have had our own version of that. And we couldn't keep these players because they had to be sold, because this man in front of us was hemorrhaging money out of the club, left, right, and centre, spending more than what the club could afford, and nearly breaking the club. And back in the 80s, it was all, as Del Boy says, yuppies. And, you know, it was all big braces, and Wall Street was the big film. Everyone wanted to be the next man out of Wall Street, and it was champagne for breakfast and all this. It was all spend, but don't worry about tomorrow. And Tottenham spent, and then he went fucking belly up because of it. So this is why for me, personally for me, as a fan, I hate this man. because of what he did to our club, to my club. I hate him for what he nearly brought to my club. I hate him because he nearly took the club I love away from me. And people of my age, I'm 47, 48 next February, remember them days, and we look back and we shudder because we wouldn't be here now. We would not be here now. And I feel the next chapter going on from him to Sugar to Daniel Levy was there's a very important point. Enoch and Enoch at the time did actually invest in Tottenham back in 91 to save the club with Alan Sugar. He was one part of the consortium that actually put the money together to help save our club. So we'll move on. I've had my say in Ivan Scholar. So we're going to move on. And this is Alan Sugar. Of course, they're pointing the figure. You're fired. He said that to a few managers. Of course, when he took over, Terry Venables, of course, was his chief executive. Of course, all the Sugar stuff happened. But his time was from June 1992 to February 28, 2001. And then, because he had managers like Pete Shreves was there for one season. Doug Livermore was first team coach for one season. Oh, my God. We had the great Aussie team of the famous five. Was there for a season and a bit. Steve Perriman was there for 1 or 2 games. Then, of course, we had Jerry Francis. Chrissy Houghton took over as caretaker. And to this day, for whatever's in his head, either he was drunk on champagne, he ate too many apples, or whatever reason, he decided to hire Christian Gross. Now, anyone seen the video, right, of him holding a tube ticket? It still makes me laugh today. I'm watching this, right, in Eurosport. And you got this manager, right, holding the tube ticket. It was like a travel card back in days, right? When I just punch, I've got a travel card. You can see the look on Alan Sugar's face. What the fucking hell have I done here, like? Didn't last very long. Lasted not over the year. I still can't get over it. He still makes me laugh to this day. David Pleat then came in to save the club again. George Graham then came in, won a League Cup under George Graham. And then, of course, when he sold 2001 to Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy, David Pleat took over caretaker and then such on. But Alan Sugar and Terry Venables deserve an awful lot of credit for saving the football club. But for me, he also made mistakes. He didn't know the first thing about football. I think there was something I read somewhere. Somebody said to him, "What are you going to do with the double side?" He didn't even know what the double side was, and he claimed to be a Tottenham fan. And look, he got an awful lot of abuse. That's why he sold the club, and I think rightly so. But Alan Sugar did do good for us as well. The year we got deducted points, thrown out the FA Cup, and got fined, he fought the FA and won. He got us back into the FA Cup, which we under Jerry Francis, got us to that FA Cup semi-final where we lost to Leeds 4-1. We got ourselves up the league. We got our points back as well. And we never really done anything under Alan Sugar. It was always, we were great one season, shit the next. It was always one sort of story after another, and not wanting to pay Teddy Sheringham the money that he deserved. He buggered off to Man United and get back to Tottenham again under Glenn Hoddle. And I just feel he wasn't a football. Yes, he put his own money in his pocket. He bought the likes of Popescu, Demidescu, and Jurgen Klinsmann for the 94-95 season. Yeah, and we all loved it. Waking up in the morning thinking, shit, we've bought Jurgen Klinsmann, like the greatest German striker, like a World Cup winner. Fuck me, he's coming to Tottenham. Like, he could have had a pick of clubs, like the 2 stars from that Romanian World Cup 94 side. Great, we bought them. So you give him, he did back managers. He did allow managers to spend money. But back then, transfers weren't that expensive. So in the mind things, he did spend money. But what he did do was he laid the foundations for Tottenham to be a stable club. And that's what Alan Sugar did. And that's what he should be remembered for laying the foundations for what was built on afterwards. And not everything that was built on afterwards has been correct. And not everything that's been built on afterwards has been right. But Alan Sugar did lay the foundations to stabilise Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. He made sure that financially we were secure. He made sure that he ran us the way that I think that Daniel Levy has taken on from that. And I think Alan Sugar, in a way, was slightly ahead of his time as well in the way he ran us. He didn't run us into debt. He ran us as a proper business. But he'd done enough to get us on to the next phase. And the next phase is, of course, where for the last 22 years, we've had our longest trophy drought in our history. And that's the biggest bit that gets me. The biggest trophy drought. Just a few comments in the chat before we get there. We've got, it's the non-ex-Spurs players, male or women, who have to pay to attend matches. They're always given free. Yeah, they always are. Tottenham do look after their players and do look after the players of the past. Tottenham paid for Jimmy Greaves' medical expenses when he wasn't well. I think they helped Bobby Smith out as well. They helped a lot of players out. Tottenham Hotspur do a hell of a lot behind the scenes. Even under Daniel Levy, to help the former players. And you got to give them credit where credit's due. Yeah, Batman, I love that game, Arkham Oranges. Haven't completed it yet, but I will do, GJ. I'm going to complete that game. I can just about remember them, those. Yes, lucky you. I remember them clearly. And simply, I say, understand what you're saying, Dermo. Sugar and Venable deserve a lot of credit, saving our club, and Scotland deserves no forgiveness. But we need to move on, or we will stay in pause. And that, I understand that. But the idea of this show was just to, I think I wanted to put the contents that where the hate we have towards Daniel Levy, some of it is right, some of it is rightly so. I wanted to put into context where we came from and what went before him. And maybe to the fans that have never known anyone bar Daniel Levy, to the fans that do remember the time before Levy, that it wasn't always sunshine and roses. There was a lot of downtimes and a lot of heartache and a lot of troubled times and a lot of anguish and a lot of despair. So it hasn't always been sunshine and roses. Now we are going to get on to the man, because this is how it all came about and Levy taken over. In late 2020, Sugar decided to sell his shares holding in the club. Now, Levy had tried in 1999 to buy the club, and Alan Sugar turned him down. Holding in the club, a decision he blamed on hostility of the fans towards him and his family. 27 of his 40% shares holding in Tottenham was sold for 22 million to Enix Sports plc. He stepped down as chairman in February 2001. On the completion of the sale, the rest of his shares were sold in 2007 for 25 million. Enoch, owned by Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy, were the latter responsible for running the club, would eventually acquire 85% of Tottenham. The club was transferred into its private ownership in 2012. I think now it's a public club now. I think it's gone back to being the PLC now. In 2012, a month after Levy took over as chairman, George Graham was sacked as manager for allegedly breached contract by the vice chairman, David Butcher, after Graham commented on the financial position of Spurs, which I remember it was just before an FA Cup semi-final against Arsenal, if I do believe. Now, Mr. Levy, since February 2008, our only trophy, so it was 2008, and he's been chairman now since February 28, 2001. He's had a few managers, to be fair. Of course, George Graham was manager when he took over. Of course, George Graham won the League Cup under Alan Sugar. Then he had Glenn Hoddle, Jackson Tini didn't work out very well. Martin Yole, I mean, we all love Martin Yole, sacked at halftime, disgraceful. You shouldn't do that. I think that's when a lot of fans turned. We had Ronde Ramos, who won us the League Cup in 2008. Then we had Harry Redknapp years. It was there for a good few years. highest position he got was 4th. We got AVB 5th was his best position in the league. Tim Sherwood 6th. Pochettino runners up in the Premier League, I think, once, and 3rd when Leicester won it. Jose Mourinho finished 6th. Nuno, the guy that named it, didn't last very long. And of course, Antonio Conte was there for a couple of years. 4th was the best he finished. He got sacked halfway through his 2nd season. And of course, the man presently in the job, Ange Postecoglou, it's now 50 games, of course. He's now played 51 now on Saturday. And his win percentage is 53.8. So that sort of puts it into perspective for me of where we are, where we've come from, and where we are now. And I know a lot of fans are still going to hate on Levy, and rightly so. As I said, he's made plenty of mistakes. He hasn't been perfect, and there's a lot of things he needs to improve on. I think one of them he needs to improve on is communication with the fans, and communicate more without all this PR BS that he uses. I think he does nothing for history, and this is my biggest bugbear with him, that other clubs celebrate the past, like you got Man United have the statues of Lord, Charlton and Best. They got the Sir Alex Ferguson stand, and the Man United, how they've treated Sir Alex Ferguson is, I was talking to Colin today, and these things, I think he said it was the best thing that happened to Man United, but we'll get more on his views on that tomorrow. You know, and it's about history, and I keep coming back to that. You cannot build a future without building from your history. We have a rich history. And Daniel Levy doesn't seem to understand that. He needs to understand that for us to move forward as a football club, and we are moving forward as a football club, we have to respect what went before us. And that means building statues for Bill Nicholson, for Jimmy Greaves, Danny Blanchflower, Steve Perriman, Dave Mackay, called the stands after Arthur Rowe. I mean, would it rarely push him to the point to call one of the stands after the managers that been successful at our club? I don't think it would, but to him, it is like sacrilegious. Oh no, we can't do that. No, we have to give the stand to I don't know, bloody, you know, everything £5.com or something like that. Let's make a few quid off it. We cannot keep looking towards. We cannot keep moving forward without recognizing what went before us. And this is the bit that gets me. Sorry, I'll be back in 1 minute. Sorry. Sorry about that. I don't know where I was. Oh yeah, you cannot, and you have to use history as a. You have to respect that, and we have to do more, and we don't do more. And then you got the thing of the senior, the senior citizens as well, not getting their what was taken away from them. We've got to put that right. And this is where the Football Supporters Trust has to come into its own, has to come out more, has to demand more, has to want more. And it doesn't. It's a waste of fucking time. It's a waste of energy. They don't do anything. They just sit there. I'll go, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do something. But hang on, we need to think about it. Instead of getting around to the problem and thinking, right, okay, this is not good enough. These senior fans have been here for generations. Let's take it to Levy. Levy has to do something. So, in my view, he's made mistakes, and there's some very big mistakes which he cannot come back from. But if he wants any sort of a lasting legacy at Tottenham, He has to put the money in the team. And I've got no problem with all the stuff that happens at the stadium. I really don't have a problem with it. The stadium's lying empty anyway. So you might as well make a few quid out of it. You might as well. And I've got no problem with the NFL, got no problem with the go-kart, got no problem during the summer when nothing's happening anyway, that Beyonce wants to do a concert. No, I've got a problem with it. As long as the money's put back within the football team. That's all I ask for. That the money that they're made from that and made from the NFL and made from the go-kart track and all the extra revenue, it's pumped back into the team for Ange Postecoglou to buy the players he needs to become more successful and bring this club back to where it was before, on the front foot of fighting for every major trophy in this country and in Europe. But to do that, he's got to be brave. He's got to know what, we're going to do this. Right, let's push the boat out. It's okay having somebody from FFP coming on to talk sport and say, Tottenham are the best run club in the Premier League because we've done this sort of exercise and we've done this poll and we found they ticked every box. That's great for that if you want a trophy for being the best in FFP. And part of me thinks, great, financially we're secure for the first time in our history, properly secured. And we've built on what Alan Sugar laid the foundations for. We've built on from that on the financial side, on the business side. And nobody can, and the hand on heart can turn around and say, on the business side of the club, he's done a brilliant job. And he has. The problem is Daniel Levy is a bit of a control freak. He doesn't want to let control of the football side. And the likes of, if you want to use this as a yardstick, the likes of when Man United was successful under Sir Alex Ferguson, the times Liverpool was successful in the 70s and 80s, any club, Chelsea, even them lot down the road, Arsenal was successful under Arsene Wenger. Football people were making football decisions. Business people were making business decisions. Daniel Levy has done a lot of things, and maybe he's a bit of a front runner in some of the things he's done now that will probably come into effect in football in 10 years' time, that every club will be doing what Daniel Levy's doing now. But for a football team to succeed, you need football people to make football decisions. It's like sending the chief executive of Marks and Spencer's in to run a hardware store. He ain't going to have the first clue about the lengths and nails or wood or paint or anything. But you ask him about tomatoes and potatoes and how to run a store, yeah, no problem, I'll do that. So you put a man that knows what he's doing into that job. And where years ago, there was a chain of command, there was the manager to the chairman. That was it. That's where that length went to. So Bill Nick wanted a player. He went to Sidney Rail. I want this player. Fine, we're going by him. Taylor Venables went to Ivan Scholar. Right, I want this player. Right, we're going by him. Ozzy Ardiles, Jerry Francis went to Alan Sugar. Right, I want X, Y, and Z. Right, we'll go out and pay them. Now you've got the manager, and then you've got a director of football. And then you've got a director of another director. And then by the time it gets up to the chairman or the man that makes the decisions, it's already gone through 4 different people. Where 10, 15, 20 years ago, it went through one person. And that's it. Job done. You went out, you bought the player, job done. Now there's a process of, what, we'll go and scout this player. Yeah, you got to scout every player, but you've got to go through one man, goes and looks at the player. He comes back and reports to his boss. His boss then reports to the director of football. The director of football then reports to somebody else. He then reports to Levy, and the director of football reports to Ange. Then Ange says, yes, I want that player. Then to buy the player, it goes between the director of football and Daniel Levy. Somehow between the pair of them, the balls it up and we don't get the player. Or we do get the player and we've paid too much for the player. It turns out to be fucking useless. So that's what Steve Hitchen was in charge. And to be fair, that was like mostly every player Steve Hitchen bought. And that still pisses me off now. Steve Hitchen gets a fucking pass where he bought a load of shite. So football, and this is the point I'm making, football has changed in so much over the last 30, 40 years that it's not the same game that I grew up to. Where, as I said at the beginning of the show, football clubs survived on fans and fans only, where the fans were paid at the gate, buy their pie, buy their whatever, cup, pint or whatever, brothel or whatever it was back in the 60s and 70s, and as you go on, buy your match day programs, buy your bit of merchandise. That kept the club going for the whole season. And then any bit of TV money that would come in from having the game live on TV, which weren't many games back in them days. I think the only games shown on TV were England or wherever you were, internationals, and an FA Cup final and the League Cup final. I think there were only games shown in the early 80s. And then, of course, you had the World Cup and the European Championships. Now the Premier League's turned into a multi-billion-pound business. You have to look for other revenues to streamline a football club. So, look, is Tottenham just a football club anymore? No, they're not. Are Tottenham a multi-sport business? Yes, they are. And that is the point of the whole show. They used to be a football club over there. And we seem to forget, and I think it's forgotten, I think it's got lost somewhere along the journey, that football is the front and most of anything we do at the club. It's not Tottenham Hotspur NFL club. It's not Tottenham Hotspur Go-Kart Association Club. It's not Tottenham Hotspur Concert Organisation Club. It's Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And I think we are now going down the road that we seem to forget who we are. And whatever that means, loss of identity, whatever that brings, it does bring, because football in itself is changing. And maybe in the next 10 or 15 years, the rest of the Premier League might be like what we're doing now. But football will never be what it used to be. And for me, that's the saddest part of it all, that the game I grew up loving and watching and going out when I was a little kid into the back garden after seeing what I saw in an FA Cup final or match of the day and go on the Sunday morning or whatever. It was just pure passion. It was pure entertainment. It was pure everything. It was just football. And football isn't football now. And maybe it's because I'm older, maybe because I'm nearly 50, that I'm looking through it through rose-tinted glasses. And maybe I shouldn't. But there's a part of me that wishes for the good old days. And maybe I want to see the game I love sort of go back to what it was. But it's not, because it's going to keep growing. It's going to keep getting more like a business. It's going to keep making revenues of billions and billions and billions every year. The Premier League is probably the biggest league in the world, and Tottenham Hotspur are part of that league. And Tottenham Hotspur is one of the biggest clubs in the world. I don't care what anyone says. So, for all these rights and wrongs, and for all what Daniel Levy's done wrong and for whatever he's done right, he has to run it in the way that he sees that how football is these days. And we don't know what goes behind closed doors. We can only see what we think we want to see. We can only assume what we want to assume. And I think it doesn't matter which divide you're on, if you're Levy out or Levy in or Levy like both sides in the middle. I think we need to come together as a fan base to be united as one. And I think this is where I think it's so important that we have to get behind Ange and the boys and showing what it means to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Forget the politics. Forget all the bullshit. Forget all the crap. Forget all the shouting at Levy. Forget all the chanting at Levy. We need to get behind the club we love. We need to be united as a fan base. And we're not united because we're too busy fighting each other. And I think fighting each other, that just breeds resentment. It breeds something that shouldn't be in my fan base. I couldn't give a flying monkeys if you would Levy out or Levy in. All I ask for you is respect. And like, I can have a conversation with Tequila. He's more Levy out than I am. But I know I can have a conversation with Tequila on Levy. And he's going to be one way and I'm going to be the other. But I can have a decent, respectful conversation with him on Daniel Levy. And not get into, we may not agree. And we may not agree in everything. And we may compromise on what we believe. And we may compromise a little bit on probably where we're coming from. But I know I've got his respect and he's got mine. First and foremost, Daniel Levy isn't Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We are. We shouldn't forget that. And that's been forgotten. That's been lost. That's been lost somewhere along the journey, somewhere along the line, that we've forgotten that the club is us, the fans. It isn't the players. It isn't the manager. It isn't Daniel Levy. It isn't Joe Lewis. It isn't whoever. It's us, the fans. And this goes back to the foundations of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. 5 lads formed the club under a lamppost in Tottenham. Formed the greatest club in the world. Formed a club that won an FA Cup as a non-league side. And they could have called it City. They could have called it City. They could have called it United, but they didn't. They called it after a man called Harry Hotspur, who was a bit like, I think, the Robin Hood of the day. Because we wanted to be different. We wanted to be different from every other club in the country. We wanted to be our own team, our own identity. And this is what we've got to get back to. We've got to get back to being our own identity. We've got to get behind the boys. Forget the politics. Forget the bullshit. Forget the shouting at Levy. You can have your own opinion. I don't care. But for 90 plus minutes, we have to be behind these lads. They're good and bad. Yeah, we're going to be pissed off if we lose. Yes, we're going to be angry. Yes, we're going to be annoyed. But from them 90 plus minutes, we have to be behind that team 100% because we are Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We're the fans of the club. That club will not be there. That club can have all its millions all at once. And we saw it during COVID. It can still run. It won't make a lot of money. But it hasn't got a soul because we're the soul. Us, the fans, are the soul. We're the people that breathe life into the club. We're the people that give the club its blood. We're its heart. And we mustn't forget that. We can't forget that. We can't forget what Bill Nick did back in the 60s, the double side. Arthur Rowe did back in 50-51 with the push and run side. What John Cameron did back in 1901, leading Tottenham to a non-league first FA. No other team's done that. No other non-league teams won the FA Cup. As a non-league side, we were the first to do that. And now this stage in 2024, under Ange Postecoglou, who was taught by Puskás, who taught Arthur Rowe, we have to get behind this manager and push him all the way. He wants us to dream. He wants us to dare to dream. The motto is to dare is to do. We as fans have to dare is to do. We have to remind the players what it means to wear the lily white shirt, wear the cockerel on the shirt, what it means to pull on that shirt, go out on that pitch on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon or on a wet and windy Tuesday night somewhere up in Newcastle or Burnley or wherever, and what it means to play for Tottenham Hotspur. Because it should mean everything. It means everything to us. We have to tell these overpriced prima donnas that, you know, what it means to be a footballer. And there's a lot of players in this current squad do care. Stunny cares. I think Romero cares. Vaccaro cares. I think Brennan Johnson cares. I think James Madison cares. These players get it. It's like the early 80s side. Steve Perryman. We've got Graham Roberts, Paul Miller, Ray Clements, Chrissy Houghton, Tony Galvin, Steve Archibald, Garth Crooks. They all got what it meant to play for Tottenham Hotspur. You go back to the 60s, Jimmy Greaves, Dave Mackay, Danny Blanchflower. You know, all them players of the 60s. Archibald, Glenn Hoddle, Chrissy Waddle, Gaza, they all got what it meant to play for the great Lily White, what it meant to pull on that white shirt at Tottenham. And we have to come to some sort of draw a line under it somewhere along the lines, because we cannot keep blaming a chairman that he can't turn around and say, if we lose 1-0, or it's Daniel Levy's fault. How's it his fault when it's down to the players? It's down to them. Once across the white line, it's them players. And so you could go back through the history of our club under different owners. And this is sort of, I think, my last point in it before we end off. That for all the mistakes he's made, I don't think personally he's been our worst ever owner. If you're looking at it from a success point of view, from a trophy point of view, yeah, him and Alan Sugar are on one trophy each. Both of them probably not great. So you're going to look at the owners before who were more successful. So on the trophy count, you have to say both Levy and Sugar were probably, and Ivan Scholar, who won 2 trophies, was as bad as each other. If you look on the business side of it, I think Daniel Levy beats the other 2 into submission. I think on the business side of it, Ivan Scholar was the worst businessman ever, and then he took our club to the brink of destruction. Alan Sugar had to come in and stabilise the club and lay the foundations for what, on the business side of it, for what Daniel Levy's done since. But on the footballing side, I think all 3 of them should hang their heads in shame, because not any one of them have brought us to where we should be. And I think it's the first lot of owners, the Bermans, the Richardsons, and the Wales family were more successful. And I think that is where I will leave this and probably put them as the best owners. And I put Daniel Levy probably, if I was doing a report card, probably gets a C for me, but could do better. I think Alan Sugar gets a C as well, did what he could. Ivan Scholar gets a -Z because he was just an idiot. And look, maybe you have a different opinion. Maybe you don't agree by what I'm saying tonight, but I think as a fan base, if we all love this club, we all have to get together and we'll all have to back the manager 100%. And we'll all have to get behind the boys, and we have to do it on Saturday home to West Ham. That's where it starts. This is where it starts. On Saturday, a home to West Ham, we've got to go out there on a united front and back them players 100%. I'm going to be backing them doing the watch along. I know you guys will too. And let's get there and let's get this ball running. This season could end up being a successful season for us. This could be the year we can win a trophy. We've got to believe. We've got to stick to the motto. To dare is to do. That's what we've got to do. I get under a few comments and then I will finish off there. Stephen Cartwright, nice to see you back, Dermot. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you, Stephen. It's great to see you in. Nice for you to say thank you so much indeed. Carl Simpson, it has made me lose interest in watching shows and other channels because I'm bored of the bitching. It's not. That's the point I made, Colin. You've just put it into a whole nutshell for me. That's it in a nutshell. Constructive. You've got to have it. And this is the one thing, when me and Tequila do a Levy show, it's constructive because we both come it from both different sides, but we're both trying to be constructive with our points of view. And, you know, if you're watching Tequila, I hope you're keeping well, man. Carl Simpson, under the cockerel cock. I mean clock. Oh, bollocks. That's right. It's over the 15 minutes now. I think I can monetize the channel, monetize the show. I'm quite all right. Big up, Mr. Simpson. Hope you're doing well. Luke Chapman says Northampton Town versus Catherine Town, the FA Cup first round Saturday. Second kickoff, 5 p.m. November. Good luck for that, Luke. I hope Northampton win. Big up to the mighty cockerel. Big up. I love your picture and standard. Is that the Tottenham new badge? I love it. Big up, Mike Cockrell. Please hit the like button and subscription button if you can as well, sir. First time I've seen you in the chat, so look forward to seeing you. Do pick up a membership because Tottenham Team Talk is a members only show on Saturday. We're running that to give you members your own build up to the match on Saturday, so look forward to that. Carl Simpson says Sugar gets a B from me for purely because he knew when his time was done he left the club. Exactly. Well, we sort of handed him out, but I think he went because his family were getting harassed as well. But I think his wife gave him a bollocking when he went home that night. Told her I bought a football club. He didn't even put it. If I went out and bought a football club without Mrs. Tron, I think Mrs. Tron would bollock me, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go. Carl Simpson, get in there. It's been a while. Yeah, that's your bugger. Thank you all so much. Please hit the like button, subscription button, notification bell, whatever you do. Come on, you Spurs. In Big Ange we trust.